Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome all you cool ghouls and friendly fiends. It's the House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, coming to you from an undisclosed location. Unfortunately, I cannot be with the group today. I'm going to turn it over to my good buddy, Eddie Guevara, for the introductions and the setup for what's going to turn out to be a great topic of discussion today. So, Eddie, take it away.
Hey, guys. How's everybody out there today?
All right.
Hi, everybody.
All right, guys. Good question. Everything I see is coming, and I see Chuck is doing a lot of new performances. And Chuck's Corners and Cheri's Sea Monkey Review. Tell us a little bit about it, Chuck.
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. I've been doing some shows over the weekend, and we've been taking our daily walks. We walked today about 2 miles with our son's dog, and we tried to film Chuck's Corner last night at the storage unit, but it was a little noisy. There was a couple people who were putting packages into their unit, and every time we started filming, there was loud banging and all kind of.
They were talking loud on their phone. It was just a mess.
It was a nightmare, so we had to pack it up. So today after the podcast, we're going to go back out. I'm going to try and make a pretty cool Chuck's Corner. It's about defying gravity, and one of the things I'm going to do is a self levitation, where I hold a cloth up and I visibly float up off the ground. And when I drop one end of the cloth, both my feet are visible and are actually moving. And there are no fake shoes, fake feet involved. There's no wires or strings.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, I go up about 3 feet off the ground. I'm close to 6 foot tall, so my head's gonna be like 9 foot off the ground there.
I don't know.
It might be hitting off the top of the unit. I don't know. So we'll see.
The best part about that is all the energy you're using to float up in the air. You know, you can accidentally come crashing down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm almost 60 years old here.
You don't need to be
don't lose your concentration.
Yeah, right into his magic stuff.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a blooper. Oh my. That would be hilarious.
That would be so sad.
We'll get Michael Myers to go in there and just run his saw around the area so you can get.
Oh yeah.
But I have a quick question. Jason, you sent me not too long ago an email, and it was you were sending me a photograph of the house. Tell us a little bit of how your search is going with that and what you're doing to see if you can find one of those legendary mail order courses called iCondo.
Yeah, I still don't understand why this course is proving to be almost impossible to find any info on, because it was advertised for years. People must have bought it, but I was going through old copies of Marvel had a martial art comic back in the 70s called Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, I think. And I was going through the ads over the years, 74, 75, and 76. And in one of the early 76 issues, the address for the iCondo mail order had changed from a place in Vermont to a place in New Jersey, because all mail order moves to New Jersey eventually, I guess.
It seems like it, yeah.
So I went on Google Maps and tracked down the address for that, and it's a little bungalow house, so it's a little residential house. And I did some searching on property sales on that house and a little bit of searching to see who had previously lived at that address, and I tracked down I guess he's about 94 years old at this point. Hopefully he's still alive. He's not living at that house anymore, but he's moved to a house a couple of miles away, still in New Jersey. But he doesn't have a phone number, so I had to write up a letter and include a self-addressed stamped envelope for his response, and hopefully he'll get back to me. And maybe he's one of the authors of iCondo.
Well, it's kind of funny when you say Vermont, because I realized there is a Vermont, New Jersey. And when I had mentioned to you on the email that I was going to pass by there, I was thinking it was Vermont, New Jersey. Now I realize you said Vermont, the state, because I do know that the iCondo was over here out of Union City at one time. I seen an ad with it, and I think I emailed you on that. But, within my square mile area, you could say the Joe Eater, the one that I think was called Dynamic something tension course. I forgot the exact name of it with
Oh, the
that Arnold,
terror self-defense course.
no, it wasn't a self-defense course. It was like a powerlifting course, and it had
Mhm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger carrying like two women, one in each arm,
Eh,
and I think it's called dynamic something course, if I'm correct. I don't remember exactly because I wasn't like a big fond of. I wasn't like that really fond of like weightlifting courses and stuff. I was more like into the novelties and the 7 foot monsters, but I always saw constantly the most iconic, which is the famous Charles Atlas. Almost every comic had him. But yeah, a lot of those not you call them, not monster, but a lot of those martial arts, powerlifting courses came in, and they always promised you, um, or should I say, almost always promised you that it was bigger than life. You're gonna get extra power. You will become the envy of all your friends. You will be attracted by women.
Mm.
You'll be an attraction to women, and not attracted by you'll be an attraction to women, and it's I'm kind of getting a loss for words here, which is kind of funny. Uh,
Whoa, that's a first, huh?
No.
that is kind of interesting right now. But the whole thing is that anytime you open the comic and you saw something, especially I will never forget the one Honor House sold that was Muscles of Steel, a pocket gym that was supposed to slap on you inches and inches of muscles and doing it.
Oh,
And all it
wow.
really was, it was a rubber band, not a rubber band, it's like a big thick rubber,
Oh,
and it had two handles on each side.
Oh
It's
my.
actually a picture of the original inside Mail Order Mysteries by Kirk Damaris. And this was supposed to slap inches and for only $1. So I mean,
No.
everything that you looked at promised you a different life or some change in everything that you did by ordering
Yep.
it.
Yep. Weeder actually he went so far over the line on what he advertised that the post office took him to court in '72, and
Wow.
he had to change his advertising for he had been selling this course for I think 12 years at that point with the
Yeah.
same ads that were promising that as soon as you read it you'll be a deadly
Are you
fighter.
are you talking about the Icondo guy?
No, that's the
Joe
Weeder
Weider.
ads for
Oh
Yeah.
his
yeah.
deadly self-defense course. He
Oh
had
yeah.
the post office took him to court, and they won because he had
Wow.
for false advertising.
Wow. Is he still alive, Jason? Probably not. I would have.
No, he died a few years ago.
Okay, because his wife was Betty Weider, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, yeah.
Joe and Betty Weider. I used to follow bodybuilding back in the '70s and the early '80s. There were some really great people there. Franco Colombo, Arnold Schwarzenegger, uh, Lou Ferrigno, and so forth. It was pretty cool. I used to do a lot of weightlifting myself way back in the early to mid '80s and so forth. But yeah, it was cool.
Hubba, hubba.
You know, it's kind of funny. I've seen a really old photograph of each other. It was kind
Oh,
of,
yeah.
but when you guys are talking about that stuff, and especially with Joe Weider, I think Joe Weider, believe it or not, was one of the first people that the government started cracking up on. A crackdown on false advertising, especially in comic books and stuff. And yeah, they did one. And if you notice, right after that, as the late '70s came on and early '80s, the crackdown was so much that you didn't see as many ads as early in this, like the mid '70s, early '70s.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were more like they said more like the truth. They didn't expand on lies as much as the earlier ones. But I gotta admit, though, I really one of the things, and I guess, and I always say it to people that makes House of the Unusual even popular with some people is the fact that you're still getting the original lie to product that we grew up with. The
Yeah,
anticipation of waiting is what made it really great.
that's
And
right.
if they didn't lie to you on the ad, there wouldn't really be any anticipation. Because if you read an ad and said, let's say, for example, and it was funny because the Johnson Smith catalog in the beginning actually said that the balloon, the 7 foot U control ghost was a balloon string and or inflatable head and plastic sheet body. And because of that, as a kid, it turned me off from ordering it. Even though the ad looked great and phenomenal, later on I kind of gravitated towards it and I wanted to order it. But in the beginning, Of course, Honor House and the Monster Ghost made a better sale
Mhm.
pitch, and it was better. And I went that way. But I'm just saying that when they started getting truthful, it really broke down a lot of the mail order stuff in the time.
Yeah, definitely. Hey,
Yeah.
P.T. Barnum said there's a sucker born every minute, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he had the right idea. If you want to make salespeople.
Now, when you say PT Brown, Jason, I want you to elaborate a little bit. When you had mentioned one time a while back, or not a while back, but not too long ago, that Canada's Niagara Falls was not that great of a place to visit anymore.
Yeah, there was I saw a news article went by, I think this morning, that Niagara Falls was rated one of the worst tourist traps in the world.
Oh my.
Oh.
Because of the expense, or because of not having great things,
I think because of the expense.
which is surprising. I remember
see.
going to Canada when I was 13 years old to the Niagara Falls.
Yep.
I never went back again, but when I was there when I was 13, the most exciting thing about Canada's Niagara Falls, and I'll never forget this, was one, they had very good looking people. And I'm saying, you know, as a kid, as I'm a guy, I loved a lot of beautiful women up there. But one thing I'm going to say was that every time I went to pay something, I found it exciting that if I had an American dollar, it was more than
Mm-hmm.
Canadian dollar was worth.
Mhm.
So let's say something was $4.95 and you paid was like $3.50, and I was like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember back in around 2008, 2009, the Canadian dollar for the first time in my lifetime was higher than the American dollar by a couple of cents.
Wow.
And it was like, not only did you get the couple of cents, but you also saved, I think currently now we're 25 cents lower than the American dollar. So it was like a bonanza ordering stuff and or going across to New York State and picking up stuff.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
great.
a lot of people, and I have a good friend of mine has a PO box. He's in the borderline between Canada and the U.S. He's towards, I believe, Washington State, and he does have a PO box in the, you know, in the Washington State area, and he drives about 30 minutes to pick up his mail. This way, he orders things
Hmm.
and doesn't have to pay for the shipping to Canada. You know.
Shipping in the U.S. is so cheap, so cheap.
Oh yeah, definitely. But the thing is, if you say, and this is a good example, I shipped a product from here to Canada, and I don't know exactly where it was, but I was shipping to that Laura Legends, the girl that mentioned me one time in her show,
Yeah, sure.
and I was shocked because a little thing cost me like $30, where over here would cost like $6.78 or something like that.
Yep, yep.
And it's pretty.
It's cheaper for me to get things shipped from the U.S. into Canada than ship things within Canada. It's very strange.
Yeah,
Well, they don't. You guys don't have a postal system there, do you?
Oh yeah, we do.
yeah, they got it.
We
Sure.
do, but it's not subsidized. I think the way your postal system is subsidized
Okay.
down there.
Now the question I'm asking about post, I actually thought it was like private companies that would do. I mean,
No, we have Canada Post, which is similar to USPS.
but it's so much more expensive. I
Oh
got
yes. Yep.
Yeah, very.
I mean, we don't have the numbers, so we're a tenth of the size, so you're not seeing the economies of scale, I guess. And the same amount of land coverage, you have to ship things, but you're shipping many less parcels. So
That's true. That's true. When I used to sell things years ago, I used to build these flea circuses, as crazy as it sounds. But I used to build these little boxes with a different, like mechanical type effects where the trapezes move. I used to ship those all across the world, and that was about 15 years ago. And you know what? Even through the United States, when you go the international shipping, it was expensive. I mean, wow, it was like $60 just to ship a little flea circus, and that was 20 years ago. I don't know what it would be now, but I shipped to Canada, Switzerland, Italy, Germany. I mean, all across the world, really.
You should have tried shipping it without the fleece. It might have been less.
Yeah, I should have
Yeah,
cut the
they're
fleas.
too heavy.
with a coupon to send away for the fleas.
Yeah, that's right. You could have sent away, and then you would have had a double sale.
There you go.
I will send you a package of fleas. You get about 10,000 fleas.
May or may not have the plague.
That's pretty good.
When you're saying, Chuck, about that, you reminded me of a story. eBay has now a thing called global shipping, and I believe it or not, yesterday I actually ran an ad that if you guys haven't seen, if you go to eBay, you'll be thrown back by it. I was able to print for one of my shows a huge 9 foot by 5.5 feet wide poster of Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. And what I'm talking about is where Frankenstein, where Glenn Strange and Bela Lugosi are in the McDougal's House of Horror.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Costello's standing up. He's like, he's kind of frozen, and then he looks, and the Frankenstein monster's coming to him. He goes like, "Oh," and then, and then Bela Lugosi says, "Stay," or she says, "Stay." He puts his hand on his chest. That picture is big, man. When I saw that thing come to my house, I was like, "Wow, man! It's 9 feet tall, 5 3/4 feet wide."
Yeah, that is gorgeous. That is a beautiful.
If you look
Like
at it, and
wallpaper.
Jason, if you haven't seen it, I'm standing in front of the thing. It's phenomenal. And the best part is, I thought it was going to be black and white, but when it came, it's actually colorized a little bit.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's
You
really
have the monster screen, and then Dracula. Because of the enormous size, the finger of Dracula is slightly pixelated. You can't tell though, because it just looks like his hand is kind of glowing a little bit.
Mhm.
It's just weird the way it looks, but it's really a phenomenal poster, man. And I printed it on outdoor vinyl, like the heavy duty vinyl that when you go to ball games and stuff, they have on the fence,
Yeah.
So it's really phenomenal. Like I said, Jason, if you haven't looked at it, take a look at it. It's on the House of the Unusual eBay site. And just recently, one of the things that got me really pissed off with eBay is that some guy received the package. It says delivered, and he puts in an email saying, or gave me the first negative feedback in probably, I don't know, 10 years. And he put, "I never got it."
Oh my.
And when I responded, I didn't realize I was responding to it. And I just put there, "Have you checked your package?" What I meant to say is, what do you mean you haven't gotten it? The thing says you received it,
Yeah.
But and the thing is, I call eBay and contact them, and they're like, "Well, we really can't remove it." Like, what do you mean you can't remove it? The guy's lying. It says delivered on your thing. I understand if the guy says he didn't like the way I took, how long I took, or I send them a subpar product, but to give somebody a negative feedback saying I didn't receive it when he did, and the tracking says he did, that's just crazy.
Yeah, it seems like to me, because back, like I said, 15 years ago, I used to sell a lot of things on eBay. It seemed like all the power was with the customers. The customers had the power, man. I mean, they could make things up, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no type of how can I say? There's really no defense for the seller.
No,
And I got to be honest with you. Overall, between eBay, Etsy gives you a little bit more defense, because Etsy, I don't. I mean, but then again, here's the difference. It's like saying, Andre the Giant and freaking the smallest guy in the world. I mean, eBay has 180 million subscribers or members, and Etsy has like 75 million. So you're not going to make the same amount of sales as one from the other. The only thing with Etsy is since it's handmade, you can charge like prices that are a little bit higher than normal. But the sales on Etsy, I know. In fact, I actually know 3 people that live off Etsy. One, I'll never forget, back in, I don't know, 1995, 96, I think it was. I'm in, and this is early because I used to go to Staples to print a lot of my posters and stuff. And she saw me printing this huge black and white, 6-foot Frankenstein and Dracula and stuff. And she goes to me, "Hey, have you ever tried Etsy?" And I know, you know what, to be honest with you, this wasn't 95. This was probably 2005. I don't know why I'm thinking 90 something.
It's still pretty early.
Yeah, no, but I know that I remember I used to host my pictures on eBay on Photo Bucket and then have a link to the picture.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. That's why it was around that era. And I think Etsy was just making a beginning, was just starting out. And anyway, so she said to me, "Have you ever tried Etsy?" And what she did is, I'll never forget this because it was crazy. She, like I said, again, I'll repeat this. I'm not sure of the year when it was because it seems like it was a very long time ago, but it could have definitely been like in mid 2000, whatever, or a little more like 2010 around there, but give or take. But the whole thing is, she made 11 by 17 stencils for baby rooms. And she had all her stencil at 25% off sale. So her regular price was $34.95, and I guess with the 35 or 25% off, you got it for like 29, 30, whatever. But I got to tell you something. I was shocked when I saw the actual website. And I'll tell you why, because she had said to me that she was working as a legal secretary and she had quit her job to do Etsy full time. And I'm saying to myself, man, this lady's really pulling my leg here.
Really?
When I got home and I checked it out, she had over, I think it was 27,000 sales.
Wow.
And I was like, what? So I've seen, in fact, there's quite a few people. If you go to Etsy, quite a few people that have thousands of sales. And one of the things that's really fascinating about Etsy that I do like this part of it, it allows you to sell digital products.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, person purchases and they download the product with you having to ship it.
Right.
I think eBay in the beginning, there was a time eBay allowed that, and then they kind of made it tangible. It had to be physical products, and things did change a little. But like
Yep.
anything said, you have to find the right avenue to sell in. And right now, to be honest with you, I'm trying to figure out how to do this where I can just go on my site and do it directly from my site, find the right advertising for it and stuff without having to use eBay and maybe even Etsy, because I do hate, and it really gets you annoyed when you have things like this, which is just not right. I do understand, like I said, hey, I took forever to send the product out. I forgot to send it. The guy received the wrong product. But I mean, this guy didn't even contact me. And that's another
Nope.
thing. eBay recently said in one of their, I think like a year ago, that sellers were going to, before that, you were allowed to get a negative feedback. The person had to prove they contacted the seller.
Right.
This guy just went boom, gave me the feedback and bypassed the whole thing. So I don't understand how eBay cannot remove that. I mean, I'm going to try again because it makes me so angry that I feel like closing the store. I actually did close the store that I had on eBay because I was paying for a store subscription. And I went down and I closed the store due to the fact of that feedback. It just pissed me off that eBay does that just because of one particular idiot out there,
Mm-hmm.
But that's basically what it's. So, Jason, another thing I wanted to quickly ask you, since you mentioned Anaconda and stuff like that. Other than that, did you get any other mail order courses you like to tell us about?
I have a copy of the Weeder course coming in. Should be here next week. But I think I'm starting to get to the bottom of the barrel.
Have you really gotten everything?
I'm getting there. I think there's only
Oh.
a few outstanding ones and some of them are so common that I could pick them up anytime. So there's no fun there really. But
Well, yeah, that is kind of crazy that you actually could say that. I mean, I've been trying to get to the bottom of the barrel
yeah,
for 40 years. When you mentioned earlier that when all those ads are together and you said, this people advertise for 10, or not, you didn't say 10, 20 years, but I mean, for years.
Yep.
Now, if I recall, and this is from the words of the guy himself who used to run DC Comics, BS. His name is I'll say the first name Bernie. I'm not going to give any information because I don't know if I'm sure he's probably not alive anymore, but he was at DC for 37 years. And one thing he said to me is, how much do you think the 1-2 inch ads used to cost in the early 70s? And I asked him that because when he was quoting me the price of the Fun Factory ad with Lou, and that was $5,000.
mm-hmm.
I'm like, wow, man, why did it go up so much? And he goes, do you know what was the price? That's when the question came in. Or he asked me the question. And I said, no. And he says, well, for about a 1 inch, it used to be between $400 to $700.
Oh my.
So I was like, really? So that's another thing that really got me to thinking, because here the Melton Company ran the 7-foot ghost ad that you would obviously send $1 for. Now you guys got to remember, the shipping was 25 cents. With the $1 you're sending in, he's getting covered for the cost of the envelope, the ghost being produced, and he's making a profit.
That's amazing.
Because otherwise he would have said $2.95.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And with the $1, he must have been getting hundreds and hundreds of
Yep,
orders.
thousands and thousands of orders.
And right, exactly. And it ran for at least 10 years. Same thing with the ad for the 7-foot monster robot plans. So my question is, where are all the people
Yeah.
that order that stuff? Like, where have they gone? I mean, of all the collectors we have on, on the show, collectors that write to me over the years, I've had quite a few, like over 30, 40 people have said, hey, I remember I ordered the 7-foot Ghost. I ordered this and that. And
Yeah,
well, the question is, where's the other 2,000, because there's nothing greater that I mean, to me, if I could find the instructions for the Honor House, even though I have the Honor House Ghost, but I lost the instructions in a fire in I think it was 95. And one of the things I'm going to say is it will be phenomenal, because I do remember that the instructions for the Ghost were very interesting. The one with Honor House, and I'll tell you why, because it had, this is what I still remember from it. It had a window, and where the window was, and this was really, really cool. The window, I saw myself, and I'm looking at and this is what I saw, because I remember in my mind the breakup of it. Oh, how it had a rocking chair. It was in a room that it seemed to have been light outside. It wasn't completely dark outside, but there was the image of the ghost rising from the floor up. It had no face or anything, but it looked like a bed sheet ghost, kind of. And it was really like a scary looking picture. So even though that the ghost, when I got it in a small envelope, and it had the balloon and the control line inside, wrapped around by a rubber band. So it's basically an 8.5 sheet of paper folded in the middle with a rubber band around it, and it had the sheet folded inside along with all that stuff. It still, in my mind, was like, wow, I can't wait to put this together. There's got to be some magic to it that's going to make it, because the picture was really phenomenal. And I would love to get, of any of the ghost ads, would be an original Honor House ad. And even when I went to Honor House, and I remember telling the guy who was in the warehouse, do you have any? I just wanted the Honor House,
Just a copy. Yeah.
not the instructions. And apparently he went back there, couldn't find any. But yeah, having said that, I'm going to tell you straight out right now that there is, and it blows my mind how it's so hard that I got to go 40 plus years looking for this 7-foot robot plan instruction.
Mm-hmm.
I have people that said I used to have it as a kid, but yet nobody has a copy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nothing's kept, but yet if you see an Ertl building kit from 1930, the instructions are somewhere. Like,
Yep.
What is the deal, man?
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, hey, even with the Field of Magic, I mean, to actually hit the bottom of the barrel, like Jason's saying, it's pretty much near impossible, because, I mean, there's been so many magic companies throughout the years that go back to the 1800s. I mean, that there's still magic props around, that I've only read about, and I've only seen vague pictures of them, and so yeah, so it depends on how much you want to spend. I mean, if you have pockets that never end, you could,
Mm-hmm.
you could acquire some of this stuff. That's why what I end up doing is I end up building these things, like the Antonio Diavolo. I mean, John Gauham has the original one. You know what? And so I just figured, well, I'm going to sit down and build this thing. And I just drew out like the blueprints of it and so forth. So if I can't have it, I'll build it. That's
Yeah.
why I look at it.
You always do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say we'll build it. I recently came across, I'm not going to say how the magic is performed to destroy, in case somebody out there wants to buy it, or if somebody's selling one, I'm not going to say, oh, this is what it is. But I came across a ghost cabinet that I bought, I don't know, a while back. I had never opened. And, I went ahead in the kitchen. I opened up this box after having it for over a year or two. And I do the trick and I go, wow, this is really cool, So I run into the room and I tell my wife, honey, you got to watch this magic, right? I set it up in the counter, and lo and behold, the trick part of it breaks off.
No.
And I was like, all right. She goes, well, there goes your trick. I go, yep, goodbye. And I said, whoa, I definitely will not make it as a magician,
Yeah.
But it got me really pissed off because of the fact it broke. But Chuck, I did email you some of the photographs of it.
I saw them. I saw. Yeah, it was a nice looking cabinet. Yeah, the top door, like you said, went in a little bit too far. It went in a little bit too far, but it was a nice looking cabinet. You know what? It's a very nice for the people that that are listening out there, I'm not going to tell the secret, but it's once you open up the cabinet, there's a see-through drinking glass on one side, and there's a ball that goes on the other side of the cabinet, and they're both placed on the floor of the cabinet. When you close up the front lid and you say your magic words or whatever, when you reopen the front door, the ball is now resting inside of the glass.
You built.
Yeah, so that's the trick, and it's a nice effect. I mean, I built one, I built a few throughout the years, and I've used them, and particularly around Halloween time, and it always got a great response.
Yeah,
it is. It is, and kind of funny. One of the things, and you have to really check this out, is that a lot of people that make magic, when you look at the items they use to create the magic tricks, just because they name it and the prices they charge, it's insane.
I know.
Yeah. See, that's what I noticed in recent years, probably the last 15 years or so. Some of these prices, and I feel bad for kids getting into magic nowadays. I mean, way back in the 70s, late 70s, I was a paper boy about 1977, 78. And you know what? The magic was affordable. I mean, I would save from my paper boy money, and I'd order and I'd buy like a professional trick or two here and there. Now forget it. I mean, you're talking $300-400 for the same trick that I paid $25 for. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, just think, like you're saying, Chuckle, like I was telling you, when people are sending away for like the ghost back in the 70s, $1 would actually go that far.
Would go that far.
And you got the, that was phenomenal. And when you think about it,
yeah.
What was $1 in 1975?
Was it? What did you say, Jason?
No, I was just curious to see what $1. So $1 in 1975 would be about $5.60 today. So
okay.
Okay, that's true. I could see why for $1 you would get the full size and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great. But I mean, I wish it was like that today. Today it's unfortunately we're not living in the same era,
And postage has gone up. You know what I mean? I mean, it keeps going up.
Stamps keep going
Stamps
up.
keep going up here every year in the United States. I think they just took a turn again. They jumped up.
They're jumping up.
I mean, it'll never end. And if I had a room or several rooms to hold all the magic I built throughout the years, I mean, it would be unbelievable. I shipped out quite a few packages. Sherry, did you have a question about Eddie's?
Yeah, Eddie, I had a question for you. What are you going to do with that 9 by 5 foot poster? Where are you going to
I actually put it on eBay right now.
Oh, okay.
I started with a minimum bid of 99 cents and a buy it now of 425, which is way below what I paid to create it.
Okay.
But I'm going to see if I can sell it. And the best thing is that, anytime you make something like that for a convention or stuff like that, the problem is, what are you going to do with it afterwards,
Exactly.
But Jason, have you had a chance to look at the computer and see it?
I was just loading it up, and it says the store is not active.
No, I shut down the store. It's just a listing. I shut it down because of what I had mentioned earlier. That, I just hate the fact that it, there shouldn't be a feedback there that I don't deserve. If I deserve it, I'm fine. But I'm not going to pay eBay $14 a month in store fees for them to allow somebody to do that to me without a reason and tell me they cannot remove it when they could remove it. And like I said, it's the experience. They say that, everybody should be eligible to put their experience. Well, guess what? He received it. He's lying about his experience.
No, I know what
it says. Delivered. Why are you still going to allow them to give me a negative feedback?
Yeah, like I said, Eddie, that was one of the reasons I kind of quit them years ago. All the power was with the customers. I mean, it's it can't work like that.
Yeah, the customer says they didn't get it, whatever. But other than having said that, it's kind of and Jason, how good are you up to the task of doing some research on the melting company, man?
I can give it a shot. We'll see.
I'll tell you. I can tell you. You can look at it in the 1970s, early 70s. He was out of Chicago, Illinois, and he was located at 33 Wabash Avenue and 55 East Washington Street.
Huh.
Now it's one building. I can tell you because I actually drove down there just to find out it's one building with two addresses. One side of the building is in Wabash Avenue. The other side of the building is in Washington Street. Now that particular place, okay, had a P.O. box rental place upstairs. I think it was on the 17th floor.
Oh.
And that's where the melting guy used to work out of. At the same time, in the mid 70s, he moved down apparently to Florida. But I think there were times where he was running ads in both Chicago and Florida at the same time. But, and this is the big but, he did move down to Florida, and the one that he finally stayed in was P.O. Box D and E. Now, P.O. Box D and E are located on the 13th Street, Washington Street. Again, is Washington Street post office, main post office in Miami Beach.
Ooh.
It's the only post office in Florida that still actually has P.O. Boxes D and E. I do believe they might have recently changed that to a number about a year or two ago, because I did go down there this recently, a few months ago, that I went with my wife and daughter, and I was trying to take some pictures inside the post office, and I saw where P.O. Box D was, because you could see this post office, when you walk into it, it has a big rotunda in the entrance, and all the P.O. boxes are there.
Wow.
So you don't have to go like in the back to go. So, the P.O. Box D&E was the size of a drawer. So it was a very big P.O. box. It's the largest one they have.
Wow.
And I guess the guy must have gone. I know that the lady who worked there, I don't know, she retired a few years ago. And I was bothering her since I was
Oh yeah, I can only
83. Oh no, I would go every year. I would go down. I go, hey, her name was Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth, did you find? And she goes, Eddie, I haven't found. Let's ask this other person. So we always went for a clue. But she did tell me, I'll never forget the Melton Company. And the reason I don't forget him is because, and this is exactly what she said, I was pregnant at the time with one of my children.
Oh.
And every time I would open up or get an envelope, it was full of change. It would break open and the change would fall all over the floor. I could bend down and pick it up. But that was a funny story.
It looks like you got your assignment for you, Jason.
Yeah, jeez. Well,
No,
I can try. I mean, and the things I tried for finding the book I was trying to find didn't work out so well yet, but I can maybe they'll work for Eddie's stuff.
Yeah,
maybe.
You said, here's the funny thing, and I said to you guys, I was sitting with Dave Haversack one day in a mall in northern Jersey here. It's called Garden State Plaza, and we were sitting in the parking lot, and we're looking through the old Fun Factory phone book from the 70s, and lo and behold, we find that there's the name of the Melton Company, but it didn't have a particular name. It just said the Melton Company, and it had a phone number. Man, I called that number in Florida, and guess what? Of course, at that time, it was years and years, and the phone number obviously wasn't there. So I started looking and calling different Melton people in the area, like I did.
Oh, my goodness.
And I would, when I searched out Lou Wise, I mean, I was a lot better when I was younger in searching, finding people. But then again, there were paper trails,
Yeah.
Like you go to a bank, and the banks kept their documents for 10 years or whatever it was. And you would be able to find information. But after we became a little more modern and stuff, then what happened was most banks and a lot of those people that did keep records after 3 or 4 years discarded them. And so then nobody was going to say, hey, I've been here. Or that was also a time when somebody worked in a bank and they were there 30 years,
Yeah.
Those days have changed. So now, in order to search something, even though right now with the internet, it might be possible, there's a 90% chance that finding a person today, they will probably be dead.
Oh my.
Because of the years that let's put it this way, from 2000, I would say 2000, the year 2005, 2000, something like that, to the present, a total of about, I would say almost every mail order person passed away. Edwin Wagman from Honor House passed
Uh-huh.
away 20 years ago. Charles Atlas, the guy Roman, Charles Roman,
Oh yeah.
was the partner, passed away. The when you're looking at the Fun Factory, not the Fun Factory, the Fun House, Jack Abel passed away. Um, the you could kind of say that other than me, Craig Tarbeck, Lou Wise, of course, and Lou Wise was the original owner of the Fun Factory, and Craig Tarbeck was like the CEO of Johnson Smith for about 40 years. They're still there. They're very up in age, but the only person that technically is still in business, even though I would say he's really not in business, but technically still say he is the guy that owns the Abracadabra Magic Shop. And he is still, going around. But other than that, any original mail order company would just be House of the Unusual, because I came from the Fun Factory. And I still have the original products of the 70s. Yeah, you have a million mail order houses out there today, but everything's new. You're not going to get the 7-foot monsters, the 6-foot Frankenstein, the Dracula. And I keep them alive, not because I'm making any money on them, really. You make very little, but the fact you want to keep those products so that people can remember them,
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
will still be there.
Nice.
One of my surprises, one of the biggest sellers out there right now, is the surprise package. I mean, that's really, and I keep getting orders for the surprise package, and I'm like, oh, back in the day, it was used for when you couldn't sell things in your store,
Yeah.
or you couldn't sell
Oh
things.
You
yeah.
unload.
Yeah, that's what you unload through the surprise package. But nowadays I actually put things that are worth the surprise package, and I've noticed that it's, for some reason, people like the idea of getting a surprise in the mail and stuff so much that if you look online at any given time, Tannen's Magic Shop lives off their surprise package. Um, you have so many other magic shops that try to incorporate an idea of surprise and stuff, and they sell you like a black box for $25. You're gonna get there, and every time I look at it, I feel like ordering it, even though that I've ordered already. I actually ordered 4 Tannen's Magic Shop surprise boxes, of which I left 2 sealed, like Jay Abram did.
Right.
Abram, the movie
Yeah.
producer, he said that when he was a kid, his father bought him one. To this day, is still sealed. I would love to open that to see what it's there, because I mean, we're talking 40 years ago, whatever. But the Tannen's Magic Shop surprise packages, when I opened 2 of them, I gotta tell you, I'm like, okay, are you really getting your money's worth? Are you getting things that just didn't sell well?
Yeah.
But the idea that you're getting a surprise has always been a fascinating, and I think that's why idea, and that's why I think, if you guys notice, one of the best things that works on YouTube is when it says unboxing something. You get thousands of hits in that particular thing. But
People love
what
those videos.
yeah, but one thing, Jason, especially from your neck of the woods, you're the only person that I've known so far that has collected, I mean, personally, all the martial arts books, or trying to. The only other person is that there was, and I think you told me you're familiar with the article I'm talking about a few years ago, that was written by a famous writer, called "The World's Deadliest Hats." Remember that
Yeah.
article?
Yeah, I emailed that guy and he got back to me because I was wondering if he had actually gotten any of the content, or if he just had the advertising, and he only had the advertising.
Huh.
He never,
Oh, so there you go.
yeah,
That
he
makes
never
you
put
really
anything
one of the
together.
world.
I
Well,
did track down on the um on a bodybuilding, Charles Atlas bodybuilding forum. There was one guy who posted that he said he had the greatest collection of self-defense and bodybuilding courses in the world. So I was like, oh boy, I'm going to contact this guy. So the forum is kind of half dead. I couldn't create an account,
Oh
but
my.
it had his real name associated with its account. So then I looked him up, and I found, managed to trace him down, and found the guy who was associated with it. And it turned out he had died at like age 45. He died really young.
Oh my!
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I traced down his sister on Facebook,
Oh geez.
and I was like, well, "You don't know me, Ben. It's kind of weird, but
Uh-huh.
this guy was really proud of his collection, And if you were ever going through it and you wanted some help to price it or to move it along or things like that, I might be able to help. And she got back to me, but she hasn't gotten back to me since then. So she said it's hard to go through his stuff.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow, you guys borderline on stalking.
No, well,
I don't think I'd want to know too much, you know.
Well, you got to take a light hand on these things. I know what it would feel like if you're somebody, hey, your brother died and give me his stuff.
I think if
That wouldn't work very well. So
I think if I was some old sick man and somebody contacted me, hey, I see you were talking about Inverti stuff 25 years ago, and I'm old and I don't feel good. I said, leave me alone.
yeah, that's what I was wondering with the 94-year-old guy, whether or not he's going to just read my letter and
I'm
consider himself lucky he didn't get scammed or something. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
he probably's gonna, you know, with today he'll probably think it's a scam. I mean,
Yep.
how many
Yeah.
people are gonna write a letter? Let me tell you one thing, and you know what you're saying about all that stuff and finding old stuff. Unlike you, that you actually got a positive thing, like the girl says, "Oh, my brother has so much things." At least you have hope. With me,
Yeah, with the
and
robot plant, no
Yeah.
hope. Yeah.
I've contacted many people, but then again, Jace, it all depends where you are and you know, the person. But this is what I got when I contacted Jack Abel's wife about the fun factory, a fun house in Newark, New Jersey, which is 30 minutes away from me. I could tell you this much. What I got from her is, you know, to be honest with you, older lady, my husband collected. He had a big business. I know nothing about it. In fact, I don't even know what happened to all his stuff. I was never involved in it.
Oh, Mom.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? You know? So
Great.
See, that's one of the
Yep.
main reasons that I got this storage unit. God forbid if something happens to me, Sherry has the key. You know what I mean? And so
well,
it's all,
it made me wonder, Chuck. Now that you say that, it made me wonder if she just probably let the thing go and somebody just, you know, grabbed onto the loot.
yeah.
Same thing with the guy down in Texas, LB. If you guys don't know who LB is, his name is LB, but he used to send catalogs that were 50, 75 pages. But all he did was he would take a scissor, cut up and paste it onto a piece of paper and photocopy the page. I mean, if you're talking about cheap made catalogs,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
that was one of them. But you know what? He was in business for a long time,
Yeah.
always sold wooden nickels. The guy passed away. I know wooden nickels. He always tried to sell me wooden nickels. I'll never forget that. But one of the things that was funny is when the guy passed away, the guy that took over the business, I don't think he had any family, was his worker, one of his employees.
Yeah.
And as you know, then you know, everything went through the wayside. And here's the funny thing about it: most of these people had the 7-foot Frankenstein, the 7-foot Dracula. I mean, 6-foot Boney the Skeleton, original plastic versions and stuff. I know LB did because he was going to send me 4. And I sent at the time $20 for the 4, 5 for each. And when he was sending it over to me, he passed away the following week. And I called the up and I got his employee and he said, "Oh, I see your package here. I'll send it to you." Oh yeah, probably someday far future I might get it, but that was back in 2010 probably.
Oh.
It's on
But
its
the
way.
point, it's on its way. Yeah, but
Yep.
the point is, you know what, guys? To be honest with you, there's really nobody alive. It's like everybody's gone. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
the generation is.
Oh yeah. Hey,
yeah.
One quick note: when Robert Houdin died, the famous French magician, his widow was still alive, and Houdini, who was actually he was fascinated with Robert Houdin. You know, he contacted the widow. He actually went to visit her, from my understanding, and she did not accept him very well. You know, she said, "Leave me alone. Don't bother me." Yeah, so that's
Maybe that's what I'll do.
That was the creation of the unmasking of Robert Houdin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was probably mad. I guess she got wind of that because in 1908,
Oh, yeah. He took his name or.
he criticized Robert Houdin and said that he didn't actually build the stuff that he claimed he did and so forth. So but the widow was still alive, and so he visited her, and
She didn't want any parts of it.
in France. Yeah, and she was pretty mad.
Well,
you know?
good for her.
Yeah. How are you doing on time, Eddie? I don't want to go over time here. Are you okay?
No, we're good on it. We got another couple of minutes.
Okay.
You know, when you're saying about Robert Houdin, but it does make me think about one thing though. that tells you too that Houdini was frustrated that he couldn't get all the stuff he wanted, just
Oh,
like you are today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
You know,
Wow,
you
amazing.
know, when you're mentioning Howard Houdin, wasn't it you, Chuck, that recently told me that there was an auction selling Robert Houdin stuff and like that, and that David Copperfield hogged the whole thing?
Yeah, you know what? You know, some of his original things do pop up occasionally, and
Wow.
yeah, from my understanding, David Copperfield has the majority of this stuff. Yeah, he has the majority of his
Must be nice.
of his things. Now, what
Wow.
John Gaham's going to do with some of these things, I don't know. If he has it in his will to go certain places, you know, who knows? I mean, he
Maybe
may have
get
it
a
in his will,
museum.
or he may
Mhm.
actually have it in his will to actually have them destroyed. I mean,
Oh,
I
sometimes you get people like that. I mean,
that's
I don't
terrible.
know. I don't know the man.
I don't think, honestly, I don't think that John Gohan is going to give David Copperfield any of it because I don't think they get along that well.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder, you know, if that's going to go to like another person, maybe a private sector. I don't know. You know, when John Hofzinser from Austria, he had it in his will that when he died back in the whatever the 1800s, that his wife should destroy everything.
Oh my.
Yeah, but it didn't
Wow.
happen that way because one of his students, Ottokar Fishkar, he actually
I
he
like
was
that name.
yeah he was able to get a hold of the majority of it.
Oh, that's good. I hate to see things destroyed.
Yeah, and
Mm.
It's stupid to say something like that and get it destroyed.
Yeah.
Recently, like you guys know, we all know that David Copperfield, the majority of those, anything Houdini and stuff, he'll go in and he's got the money to outbid anybody. So,
I know.
Yeah.
well, what are you going to do? But some family or some people came across an original torture chamber, Houdini water torture chamber.
yeah.
Oh.
And it was kind of interesting because they had the whole thing taken apart and, redone, like fixed up. And I was looking at it in parts and I'm like, wow, I'm going to try to get somebody to build this for me. So I contacted a couple of carpenters, a couple, meaning like two actually. And one of them said, Eddie, if you give me the time, we'll put one together. We'll do a life size one for you. The other guy says, that'll cost you $10,000. And I was like, what? Like one for $10,000. He's
Yeah,
like,
I would go with the first one, Eddie. Just give
Yeah.
us time.
no. But the thing is funny is, well, the first one is my son's father-in-law,
Oh, there you
professional
go.
carpenter. And the second one, though, is kind of funny because I said about a 2-foot model. And he's telling me it's going to be about 10,000, which is retarded because I mean that's an absurd amount to even
Yeah.
charge.
That's how a contractor tells you he doesn't want to do the job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that I believe that's probably it. I thought
Yep.
about that because
Yeah.
it's insane the amount of, but it's really when you look at it, Chuck. To be honest with you, I think it's something you or me could build. I mean, it's ornated. The outside you would probably need to, but I'm sure that if you go and Google it, I'm sure that they make parts of the outside that you just buy and put on.
yeah.
Say, for example, because I'm always trying to do crazy stuff. I was trying to actually build a life-size Ark of the Covenant, the one with Moses.
No,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
And I was like, that would be such a cool thing to own. And the reason for that is because I got really pulled in because I love In Search Of. All those shows are very popular in my
Yeah, they're good.
book. And one of the things that I was watching a couple of years ago, I was really like, wow, I wonder what happened to the Ark. What happened to the Ark? So I went around and then Indiana Jones, they did a special for Indiana Jones characters in Target.
Right.
And excuse me, if you would buy 5 of them, you would get a free Ark if you mailed away for it. Now, I bought the 5, but then I didn't want to, break the packaging to mail away for the Ark. So I tried my other stunt, which is you call up the company and say, hey, I mailed it in. I haven't received it. And then they try to fill the Ark for you, which
that's the same trick that guy played on you on eBay.
yeah.
Hey,
But no.
what goes around comes around, Eddie.
Well, it's not that what the guy played on me. What I did is I never really ordered it. I just call up, say I didn't receive it, and hope that they fill it in. And believe it or not, it worked. They sent it to me.
Oh my!
And it's like, believe it, it's like 12. It's a huge Ark. It's not small. It actually is the size that you could say you could fit a GI Joe in it, like the big GI Joes.
So it's a shoebox.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And then I went to Chiller Theater, and some guy was selling them for $59, and I bought 2 more.
Oh wow.
So I have 3. The thing is, if you go on eBay right now, anytime they come up, they're over 350 a piece.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And so then I went ahead and I bought. So my idea was, how about if I get this duplicated in full size? You go to the Bible and it has the exact measurements.
It has the
Oh,
measurements.
yeah, the cubic.
You know, it's like a
Yeah.
you actually have the plans on how to build it, right? So
Exactly.
when I did it, I was going to do it, but then I'm like, where am I going to put it? If I build it, that's 3 feet. That's a big area of space and storage to store it. And I decided to just keep it in back of my mind for now.
Well, maybe in the future. Hey, getting back to that water torture stuff, if you get a life-size one ever built from Houdini's size, you know what? Keep in mind he was a very short man. He was like 5'3". So
Well,
yeah, so it's not very big.
Oh,
no, the original is only about 5'6", believe it or not.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. He was very little man.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to tell you, Chuck, I'm crazy enough. I went to Florida, and I think I told this story before. I got to South Carolina. There was a guy named Lee up down there that owned a huge, I say he owned like 22 acres of land, and he owned the gas station. On the gas station, he had several businesses. One of those businesses was selling lawn ornaments. He sold big giant giraffes, cows. In fact, it filled the football field with all the stuff he sold. And I went to the shop, and as I'm going to the shop, I see a big 7-foot knight in shining armor. And I said, oh, wow, man, how much you want for that? Now, it wasn't heavy. It was more like tin. So you could say it was fashioned out of like thick tin.
Sheet metal. Yeah.
Well, not sheet metal. It was sheet metal, but it was more like copper, tin, whatever. Anyway, I said to him, how much you want? He says, $87. I said, what? I whip out the $87. We tie it to, he had it tied in his door. And he goes, I've had it there for people to come in. I've never thought about selling it. But, I guess the guy, we got to be friends after every single year, 27 times me driving down. And I would always stop at his place and put gas and, eat at the restaurant right there that he owned. And so, he sold it to me. And I put it on top of a 1985 Chevy Celebrity I had. Okay. This is probably 1989, the time period, whatever it was. But when we tied it, I put plastic garbage bags over it. Not plastic, but they were see-through. So in case it rained, because anytime you drive from here to Florida, you're going to hit a storm, And coming up through the turnpike, I drove it for over 18 hours on top of the roof. And I stood it because it was kind of funny. I had on the trunk, I had a like that thing you have in the trunk, like the thing that comes up like for a luggage rack.
Yeah.
I put it from there, and it was standing up like towards the roof, but it was kind of like I had a cannon coming off the trunk to the roof, And I'm passing by, I think it was the Maryland Turnpike, and the lady goes to me, I'm not going to ask you. I'm definitely not going to ask you, but good luck. But it was so funny the way she said that. Everybody in the road was looking at my car. I think if, going back in the day, I should have put House of the Unusual on it.
Yeah. How's that time, Eddie?
The time is, we have exactly 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Awesome.
So just kind of wondering, any last words from anybody?
Hey, it was a great conversation today. I appreciate you guys having us all on. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, having said that, guys, have a great time. God bless. Until next time.
All right.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Take care.
Bye-bye. God bless.
Bye-bye.